Hello, music lovers. My name is Carter. Welcome back to Recording Records. My sister was watching the short and sweet review, and she was telling me my voice was too deep, and so I joked with her about introducing this video in kind of like a fruity, girly way, and then I decided I didn't want that clipped, me talking like a lady, so that's me trying to do a kid's voice. But anyways, welcome back to Recording Records. My name is Carter, in case you're new. Today, we happen to be reviewing Charm, which is the third studio album from indie pop sensation Clairo. Now, Clairo has created a name for herself with a bedroom pop style that portrays a level of homemadeness. I haven't really listened to a lot of her older work until I listened to this album. I've now started to go back and listen to some of her big songs. I've yet to listen to her older albums, such as I think her first one's called Immunity, I think. I plan on listening to that one at some point. Haven't gotten to it yet, but eventually I hope to. And this, outside of Bags, which was the first song I heard from her, this was really my first experience of listening to Clairo, was listening to this album. And so this album review was a long time coming. I spent probably a month on this album review just because I was balancing two different album reviews, and I was like really working on like a lot of stuff and starting school. So I've been working on this one for a while, probably longer than I really should have been. But I really did want to get into it because, it was really something, it brought a lot new to the table. The album, Charm, incorporates a lot of like jazz and softer forms of rock or soul, which is really not something I've really touched too much yet. The album at moments has very rapid chord changes and at times has very sporadic implementations of new sounds and ideas for the songs within the album. The album is about charm, which Clairo reportedly described as the following. I came to the conclusion that to me, charm is the moment when two people meet and they have separate life experiences, all their own stories and feelings, and then they tell each other the first layer, I'm from blank and I do blank. There's this beautiful haze and buzz when you're still imagining the rest of it. That feeling is so good. And so, as the quote kind of describes, the album is about love. This story about love begins with the first track, Nomad. Nomad is a song about solitude. The album positions Clairo, or the author of the song, as someone love-deprived and lonely, yet desperate for love. The song expresses the extents that Clairo would go towards in order to not feel lonely. She would sell everything and become nomadic, constantly looking for a new home, in order to really not feel this feeling of being homeless, I guess. She's so touch-starved and shameless that she'd rather be with a stranger who's only there just for the night or for a short time than to be with nobody. The song documents this feeling that I think a lot of people who struggle with solitude have, where they feel desperate for any form of attention, even the worst and most undedicated kinds. This is really peaked within the chorus, which dives into the extent of low-level attention that she would be willing to have just to feel comfort with being wanted in some way, and consequently, the music in the chorus just feels very atmospheric. The song carries a very soulful and dreamy feel with all the vocal stackings and the little keys that are played throughout the song, which coincides with this desire and really this dream that's being expressed by Clairo. In the following track, Second Nature, we see this wish granted. Clairo describes in this song a love that she has for someone that comes to be second nature. The song has some elements reminiscent of some very nostalgic love songs with a sung da-dum harmony to really coincide with this. It's sort of imitating a lot of these older pieces, older love songs that you'd hear from maybe different quartets groups or that kind of music of that type, or then later, maybe soul, jazz, sung jazz, kind of like swing stuff. It's sort of imitating a lot of this stuff to really drive down that love song sound within the context of the sound of the album. The fourth track is Slow Dance. In this track, Clairo has seemed to find the low-level attention she desired in the beginning tracks, and now she wants even more after getting just a taste of what she wanted. In the opening track, Nomad, Clairo describes wanting attention, even if it comes from someone who only stays the night. This is done through the lyrics, but I'd rather be alone than a stranger. You'd come visit me late at night. I'd rather wake up alone than be reminded of how it was a dream this time. However, in this track, Slow Dance, she says that this actually isn't what she wants. In the first verse, she says, when the moon begins to hide, it's not over, and the windows turn in light does not mean goodbye. This is an obvious illustration through juxtaposition of her want for her lover not to stay for just a night. This is carried into the chorus, which opens with, when the candles burn out, another reference to a partner stay at night, with candles being something that couples use for nighttime activities, we'll call it. And in this track, she complains in the chorus and post-chorus about her lover committing to other people. She wants this person's whole commitment, and not just the low forms that she desired in the beginning of the albums, but really a committed relationship. She wanted at the time maybe some just low-level thing really to get past, I guess, this thing that's really holding her down and keeping her down by feeling unwanted. And then she got at least some of it, and it just wasn't enough. She got something that she thought would cure what she needed because maybe she didn't have a high enough, esteem or whatever to really be desiring this high-level commitment. And then she got something that she thought would cure it, and it didn't. And now she wants more. Now she's really looking for that commitment. The song features another dum intro similar to the last song, Second Nature, but it's a lot more sad. This plays off the vibe of the last track, which was a track building up Clairo's love for her partner that hides away from discussing many burdens, with a track that begins to unravel some of the issues in the relationship. The central issue being that Clairo seems to love her lover more than they love her, which is a common and totally relatable struggle for people who have gotten involved in not fully committed relationships out of sort of desperation. The next track is Thank You. This track sees Clairo break away from her relationship with lines such as, when I met you, I knew it, I thank you for your time. The song is a bittersweet reflection over the state of her relationship where she thanks the person for their time, but hates to admit that she opened the door for them. This carries into Terrapin, which is a track which feels very freeing, with many chords just thrown around on the track. What this song is about is kind of confusing, so I'm going to let Clairo explain it. This is what she said in a conversation with Remy Wolf about the track Terrapin. It's a turtle. It's a name of a bar upstate. It's the first song I made where I really felt free in the process. This song is about getting drunk with a friend and just looking at them and being like, I love you. Maybe you never say it to each other, but you say it then. And it's this magical moment where you're covered in love, you're drenched in it, and nothing matters. Why do we shy away from this feeling? Why don't we say this more? I think this song also made me realize that some people put a lot of weight on the word love and never say it, and then some people use it so freely where it loses its meaning. The next track following this is Juna, another track about falling in love. Seems the issues of Thank You are gone for now with, the freeing feeling of Terrapin, and then this track Juna. It might be a different person or something, I don't know, but the song definitely communicates falling in love, with the song opening and closing with the words, come to me slowly. Clairo is wanting more from this person and is eager for what is to come. However, the next track, Add Up My Love, sort of breaks apart this love story. The joy and intimacy of Juna is suddenly written of, with Clairo describing parts of the relationship that she inferably missed by wondering if her ex missed the same things about that relationship. With lyrics like, do you miss my laugh? Do you miss my hands? Do you miss my name? This sort of missing parts of the relationship is expressed. There's a lyric in the chorus, Add Up My Love, honey, was it enough? Is it ever enough? That really paints this picture that maintaining the relationship was either difficult or impossible, but she still seems to miss it. This carries over into Echo, which possesses a very obviously more sorrowful tone. In this song, Clairo laments how a relationship never goes anywhere, sort of the same thing carried over. Repeating in the chorus, our love is meant to be shared while our love goes nowhere. Now, prior to the next track, Glory of the Snow, Echo, rather than fading out like the other tracks have prior, has a transition to really carry on the emotional direction of the album. The next song, Glory of the Snow, is a song about a bittersweet reflection of a lost relationship. Clairo reminisces over the memories and sees this person, feels this person, and hears this person through these memories. This bittersweet attitude is contributed well by muted guitars that give this faint touch, along with a piano that gives a lighter touch. To end the song, the instrumentation just takes the song away until it is interrupted by the final track, Pier 4, which has the most jarring transition I've heard yet, and probably one of the most jarring transitions ever. It's this light, well-paced sound interrupted by a slower, super reserved sound, sort of escaping from the pace of the album with a touch of somberness. The opening lyric to this song is, "And if you need to disappear," sort of playing along with this escapist transition from the previous track into a verse about escaping and disappearing. This continues into the next lyric, "You'll have no reason to be sad at all. You'll strike your own matches of logs, may catch an eye while you play sad and soft." With the lyric, "You'll strike your own matches of logs," obviously describing starting a fire. This person might disappear but still be able to be self-sufficient and take care of themselves, able to catch an eye and gain attention by pitying or playing sad and soft. The second verse continues on the theme of escaping and really hones in on the negative emotions expressed at the end of that first verse by describing alienation and self-doubt. This comes together in the chorus with the lines, "You're just playing dumb." This person is really avoiding their feelings by isolating, is what's really being inferred here. What is the cost of it, of being loved? This questions the cost of love, which some are talked about previously in the album. When close is not close enough, which this arises a concern about the relationship having not been very close, a nice callback to songs like Slow Dance and Thank You, and Where is Your Line, when do you draw, which could be about the amount of closeness to allow in the relationship, or a question for how far they could go before they break things off. And then a reiteration of how their love was when close is not close enough. Then in the third verse, this escapism through disappearing into nature, as described in the first verse, is really put together, with references to being at the pier and reliving the relationship by watching others. Then comes the final chorus and the final chorus of the album, with lines like, "It's something you've done, opened my hands and I know I've shut some, when close is not close enough, where's the fun in it? And now I'm too tough, from close being just too much." The end part to this, "from close being just too much," really stands out because in many parts of the album, such as earlier in the chorus, Clairo expresses a central issue being that her and his past partner were not close enough. But here, she's saying that close was too much. She desired vulnerability and intimacy, and it was just too much. This jarring differentiation contributed to by the jarring transition into the song, which allows this all to really work in the first place. Interestingly, Pier 4 is the name of a fishing pier and a beach in Brooklyn, New York, a city where Clairo moved to in 2019 from Carlisle, Massachusetts. It also happens to be the name for a boulevard in Boston, Massachusetts, which isn't too far from Carlisle. The usage of a physical place gives image to this escapism and disassociation present in this song. A beach also being referenced in Terrapin through that song's title, which is a type of turtle. Overall, the story of the album is that of a struggle with intimacy and relation, where desperation, stems comfortability with low-level commitment that never really satisfies or becomes worthwhile. As far as the flow of the album, it flowed really well. For a lack of a better term, the flow gives a very charming feel to the album. all these songs, except for Echo and Glory of the Snow, end in a fade out. So there's no transitions outside of that, of the one into Glory of the Snow and then that one into Pier 4. I wanted to talk about the flow of the album with a bit more detail just because I really find the flow of the album so interesting. So I decided to map out the BPMs of all the tracks, BPM just being the measurement we use for tempo, really the pace of the songs. And with this pace, or BPM, you'll notice two big drop-offs in the album. The first is with Add Up My Love, this song being the one that breaks up the love story developed through the prior tracks, Terrapin and Juna. And the second drop-off is Pier 4, where the breakup track section of the album following Add Up My Love really hits an emotional peak. Here, I color-coded the album to show sort of the thematic progressions of the album, where the yellow is the romantical development of the album, and the red is the emotional, post-breakup or post-issues side of the album. And then the orange, Slow Dance and Thank You, is really like the foreshadowing of this breakup. And then there's Pier 4, which is this dark red, as it really stands out to me as the most emotionally involved of the post-breakup tracks. As we can see here, again, these two drop-offs and BPM are used as points of emphasis in the emotional development of the album. Something also to notice is the massive build-ups in BPM prior to these two drop-offs, especially the one before Add Up My Love, to really make that moment so significant. Now, to get into the composition of the album, I really enjoyed the elements taken from jazz and soul that really came together for a mostly comfortable and peaceful listen, outside of, kind of Pier 4, which is really just like a very jarring song. I enjoyed the production from Leon Mitchell's, I believe it's pronounced, and Clairo herself, although at times the mastering was a bit shaky. It's not that it's bad, but it wasn't clean enough to really be industry standard, which I guess fits well into the indie label, but it can also isolate the album from really reaching a larger audience than it really already has. Also, there were times in many of the tracks in the album where some structural development in the tracks, usually a bridge or a post-chorus, just come about spontaneously, which can kind of hinder what I think this album really does best, which is that you just listen to it and it's really just like easy to listen to. And I think some of these like structural developments that come about spontaneously kind of just take away from that. That being said, it is easy to listen to, sort of being lo-fi in some manners. There are parts where the spontaneity, though, can kind of bleed into the tracks of the album. I'm notably thinking about like two of them that this happens. Maybe the spontaneity is like purposeful for communicating thematic elements, maybe perhaps the complexity of love or something, but it does give off the impression that at times the album aims too hard to not be cookie cutter, a bit to maybe its detriment. And so overall, I just absolutely love the vibe of the album. It feels very homemade and has a lot of emotional complexities, although I must recognize that the album does have its issues. I'm thinking that this album is between an 8.5 and an 8.75. I'll give it the 8.75 out of 10. I want to move The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. I'm going to keep it at 8.75 out of 10, but I want to clarify, I think it's like an 8.75 to a 9, just because I might move it to a 9 before the end of the year. I'm not too certain, but that might happen. By the way, this one took like a long time. I kind of talked about that earlier. Another reason is some of these albums I really, really just put a lot of effort listening to the songs over and over, really just trying to nail all of my takes, make sure I have them exactly how I think they should be, really understanding and picking up on whatever I can pick up to talk about. And it gets really, really, really just like long listens throughout the albums a lot of times for some of these album reviews, especially ones like Sour, where, that's probably my most detailed review I've ever made. And you can really tell by listening to it, by listening to that review how much I listened to those tracks in order to write all the things that I wrote about them. And so I guess that'll do for this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good Clairo autumn. I'm coining that term. No one else is going to use it because Brad Summer's endings. No one else is going to use Clairo autumn, but I will use Clairo autumn. Have a good Clairo autumn. Goodbye. Have a good day. God bless. Bye-bye. Hello. 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 Hello, music lover.